Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
I'm Zede Donahue.
And if you have been entertained by our lovely sewing chatter, please go to iTunes and subscribe and leave us a review. We'd very much appreciate it.
We'd like that to be a good review.
A good review. I mean, but no publicity is bad publicity. So, bring it on, I guess is what I'm saying. Anyway, today we'd like to talk to you about what to do with old clothes, or
what not to do.
What not to do with old clothes.
What to do or not to do.
Now, we just decided to record this, but do you remember the post I did on, sewing with T-shirts? Do you remember that?
Like when you were like 12?
No, I did I think maybe I was like 20.
You were that old?
I made a little picture that says, just because you made it out of a T-shirt doesn't mean it's cute.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You don't remember that?
No, I do remember it now. Yeah, maybe you were in college when you did that.
I was definitely in college, but yeah.
Yeah, just because you've repurposed it doesn't mean anybody else wants to see it. That's for sure.
No, it doesn't automatically.
I mean, I've gone to I love Pinterest.
Yes.
Absolutely love Pinterest.
I love Pinterest too.
And I love it because it can inspire, and I love it because I can laugh my butt off at what I see sometimes.
And there is like a Pinterest fails thing.
Yes,
there are people
the Pinterest
who
fails.
are reveling in the Pinterest fails, and I've had
and they are funny
creative fails too.
Right.
But the old clothes thing, I think it can be really successful.
Well,
for sure.
When the old clothes thing, when I really started doing the old clothes thing, honestly, was when you were a baby.
Yeah.
And I was in a period of low cash flow, and you had these cute little knit outfits.
Yeah.
And you would grow out of them, and I would take two outfits and make one out of them.
Uh-huh.
And actually, the older girls used to make fun of me and say, "Mom, you're the only person I know that can take two outfits and make it into one.
Right.
You've got less than you started with."
Less than you started
But
with.
what I had is I had a bigger outfit or a longer, taller outfit.
Yes.
An
outfit that worked.
Right.
You'd have zero outfits when it
didn't
doesn't
work
fit.
at all.
Yeah.
So I was refashioning these little knit outfits that were absolutely darling that, instead of going out and buying a new one that you were going to grow out of again, or having to make a new one you were going to go, I was repurposing what I had, and they weren't. Here's the clue. Here's a clue, I believe, to success. They weren't worn out.
Right.
They were something that I liked, that maybe you wore. You wore enough because I liked them, but they didn't look worn when I was refashioning them. They didn't look like I put old stuff together.
There's something about worn. Worn doesn't just mean it's got holes in it. Worn can mean that it's a fabric maybe that was made, and maybe unbeknownst to you, it was stored improperly, it was left out in the sun, or it was left wet or something. Like, touch things.
Right.
And if they feel weird, maybe you don't want to be making clothes out
right.
of them.
Well, and you don't want to spend your time on something that turns out,
exactly.
Unattractive or not functional or whatever.
Sometimes I'll have people, you can find good materials like old clothes or fabric anywhere. Yes. I'm talking, people are like, oh, I'd never buy fabric at Walmart, or and we found silk at Walmart.
Yeah, we found a bolt of silk one time.
I found really nice stuff at a thrift store before, at a garage sale. But sometimes it's not always good just because it was cheap.
And sometimes it wasn't good because didn't start out good either.
Right. And the other thing is, sometimes I get people who are like, oh, well, I'm just going to play around with this because it was cheap. And I understand the urge, and I understand the old clothing urge, because you're thinking, oh, these are materials that kind of already exist and stuff.
Right.
But it's got to be high quality.
Right.
It's got to be something that after you manipulate it, and sometimes in certain techniques kind of put it through the ringer, but it's going to stand up to what's going on.
And I mean, I'm certainly not one to discourage this behavior. I refashion a lot of clothes.
Oh yeah.
I do. I give a class called Frankenshirt, where we take a shirt you already have and we, add a different bottom to it, or, put a godet in it someplace, or a collar, or refashion the hem or the sleeves or whatever. So I'm into refashioning clothes, but I'm not into taking something that probably you should be washing the car with.
Right. And refashion it into a rag. The one blog post I saw, and I don't know who wrote this, and I'm sure you can do this in a cute way, but it was like t-shirt into a pencil skirt. And I discussed this in that blog, and I'm like, okay.
Okay, first of all, I hope it's a really heavy t-shirt weight.
Exactly. I think about what t-shirts can be made of. I'm just claiming this.
Right.
Okay, what if you take a lined t-shirt and make it into a pencil skirt? Might work.
It could be beautiful.
Might work.
Or a really heavy t-shirt, or
Sure.
something that's made out of, what is the new diving fabric? The thick
that
stuff?
neoprene.
The neoprene kind of
scuba
stuff.
knit or whatever.
Scuba knit. That's what they're calling it.
It could work. Using that kind of as fabric. And the lady who made this, she took pictures of herself and she looked great in it.
Was she like a stick with no shape?
No,
straight up and down?
She was thin. I mean, she
Right.
had a shape. Like she had some hips
Right.
and a bum and everything. And she looked pretty. But I thought there's just not enough structure here that this would look like. Don't wear this to a job interview.
Right. Or can she really move in it and it stay okay and hold its shape?
Actually, one of our most
knows?
popular pins on Pinterest
Yeah.
is that skirt that people show. It's like good for a swimsuit cover up, but you wrap it around and then you twist it in front. It looks like a bow kind of. And
what are you doing? Using a man's shirt or something?
No,
what are you talking about?
No, you're using just a length of fabric.
Oh, a fabric.
And it's not sewn.
Yeah.
It's just twisted and wrapped. And I pinned it and wrote, "This is good for the beach, not for a job interview." It's been repinned hundreds of times.
And that's exactly true. I mean, obviously you wear different things on the beach than you wear or even to the grocery store.
When you're gonna repurpose that t-shirt, you just can't expect it to act like anything but a t-shirt.
Right.
You can't expect it to all of a sudden have structure that sometimes you want in a pencil skirt.
That's right.
You can't expect it after you cut it up and you don't refinish the edges for it to keep its shape. It's not going to. If you're okay with that, great. But keep it in mind.
I've seen things where people have, taken the fabric and somehow they manipulate it and they turn it into a bracelet. And I'm like, okay. I don't want a bracelet made out of an old t-shirt. It's just, it might be something for the Girl Scouts to do, or 12. I don't know. It just doesn't. I would not wear that to a job interview.
You never had me do stuff like that. No, Mom. I have often thought about that. I have a husband who is an elementary art teacher, and so sometimes I'm like,
well, there's one thing learning technique.
Yeah, but we'll look at things, and I'm like, that's just so much more work to cut up the t-shirt and t-shirt yarn can be fun. I'm not like we said, we're kind of talking about the low lights of this practice, but. Sometimes I look at some of the things that he sees on Pinterest and stuff for art projects, and I'm like, what is this even doing? And when I was little, I wanted to make things that I'd actually use, that I wanted to have,
Right, that you spent your time on it, so you wanted it to be worth something, or you want it. And sometimes just learning a technique is worth it. What I think of is when I went to YMCA camp, and we'd have crafts. And I remember one of the crafts was taking a Dixie cup and some plaster of Paris, pouring it in it, and sticking the pine cone in it. And then later we peeled off the Dixie cup and we had a pine cone stuck in plaster of Paris, and that was a paperweight. That's the day I said, I don't do crafts. and we had a thing on Sewing Reputation, and when I say I sew and somebody says to me, "Oh, you do crafts," all I can think of is that paperweight.
Now I get it.
And that plaster of Paris.
And
I'm sure. Okay, I took that home. I took it home, and I never saw it again. My mother had exemplary taste. I never saw that ever again. And I think we got to even put food coloring in the plaster of Paris, so everybody's is a different color if you want. But I guess it taught me plaster of Paris dries. but that was
Huh.
like it.
I thought
mean,
you were gonna maybe like make a mold or something. But
well,
that's,
it did tell.
yeah,
It did. The
yeah.
thing it taught me is there was a thing called plaster Paris.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty, and that I could stick a pine cone in it. It would stick, and the Dixie cup was wax, so it peeled off.
Peeled off. And
Right.
sometimes
So
I
I
think
learned those things.
with these repurposing things, that sometimes it seems like you're just sticking crap together.
Okay, so have you seen the shirts where people like put all the crap together, and it just looks like they hung rags on people, and they call them art, and what it's like found art. I mean, I like found art. I have seen found art I like. It's in the eye of the beholder, but please think about everybody else has to look at this too.
Yeah, there. I mean, it's certainly like taste is completely subjective.
And don't make your children wear anything you've repurposed unless they really want
unless
to.
they really like it.
Because
they really like it.
they could grow up and write a book later.
That's right. Like I'm gonna do.
That's right.
That's right. But I
That's
think
one reason I never wanted to be famous, Mallory, because I was sure you'd write a tell-it-all
a
book about
a
me,
book
right?
about you. I think that's what happens with the repurposing is that it just you have to have a little bit of taste, a little bit of guidance there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do think you really have to think about it, and some of those garments need to be donated.
Yeah.
And some of them need to go into the rag bag in the garage to wash the car with. I mean, that they all, I make a lot of like dog pad rugs out of,
Things. And
right,
use 'em as
old towels
stuffing
or
and-
whatever,
yeah.
right, things like that. So, I mean, just don't think everything on Pinterest is cute because it's on Pinterest.
Or that, people can take really good photographs of things. And
That's true
this
too.
is another, topic that we're going to do is why people get discouraged at sewing.
Right.
And I think that if you think that you can alter the neckline of a t-shirt just by cutting it.
Right. And never restitching it.
Yes.
Well,
Now-
you can once.
Right, you can once, and
Right.
then the next time you wear it, it's going to be all stretched out of shape.
Right.
And if you're okay with that, that's fine.
Right. If
But
that's
people
the
are like,
look.
oh, well, I would like a boat neck ballet,
Right.
ballet neck t-shirt, boat neck t-shirt or something. And they're like, oh, but then it all stretched out of shape. And it's like, yeah, I wish they would have told you that in
Right.
their blog post or in
That's
their
right.
whatever. Or that's why we taught that Franken shirt class.
That's right.
And in that Franken shirt class, we talked about Franken design, whatever. We talked about color
Right.
and
shape
line
and line,
shape. And you
silhouette.
have to, yes, and different silhouettes work for different people. And there's this lady, her name is Sonia Phillips, and she's doing this thing, 100 Acts of Sewing, and I think she's making a garment like every day.
Right.
And her garments are really simple silhouettes. Like some of her pants, I think they're almost like a pancake pattern.
Uh-huh.
And they're
So
really
like
simple.
a pajama pant almost.
Yeah, almost like a pajama pant. And, she talks about that, though. And they're for her shape. And
Right.
she's a plus-size lady. And she talks about, like, this... I'm making this for me, and I'm not putting pockets in this because I want to be able to make one every day. But
Right.
I'll show you how to put pockets in it if you want to make yours.
Well, and
It's part of her process, and that's the mark of a good blog, a good communicator,
Right.
a good teacher is when they explain themselves a little more.
right, and they
you know?
explain what doesn't work for them or what
Yes.
hasn't worked or
Yes.
why they're not doing it this way or that way. And so, so many things on the internet are, I mean, I know they don't work.
Right.
People
right.
say, "Oh, here," and
Yeah.
and then they lay it down and go, "Oh, here's your skirt." Well, you haven't seen it on anybody. They haven't worn it. They haven't had
Washed
tried to go to
it.
the bathroom with it on. I mean, I haven't tried to get in and out of a car with it on. All these things. I mean, so don't. But most of all, I guess, don't embarrass yourself with repurposing.
Absolutely. Think about taste. Look at some things that you like the way they look, and see if that's gonna.
But I don't know why I would want jewelry out of like my old clothes. I want like jewelry that has metal in it and crystals and diamonds and stuff.
You don't have any diamonds in your old clothes.
No, but if I did, I'd cut them out and keep them and repurpose them.
But what about a repurposing project that has worked for you? Like out of old clothes.
Okay, what about your backpack? I made some killer backpacks when the kids were young,
Yes.
and they were out of old jeans, denim.
Killer.
And old jeans can really. The thing about denim is when denim gets old, it's still fashionable.
Yeah.
I used to give a talk when one of my fashion talks about jeans, about if you have to pay $200 for a pair of jeans, it's not expensive because you can wear jeans forever. You can wear them when they're worn out. You can wear them any place. You can wear them with anything. So that's not, even though it's $200, it's not an expensive item.
It's become so popular for
Right.
this distressing to happen.
Right.
You know, they tell you with those really high-end jeans out of the raw denim,
Right.
not to wash them.
I know. You're supposed
Put them in the freezer.
it's because they wore them out already.
Yeah. But no.
Well,
But then
Yep.
sometimes they distress them ahead of time because people don't want that actual like the new denim look. But the denim that you used to make the backpacks
Right.
was, softened.
that's
And
right.
like kind of, well worn and soft and
And the thing is I use several pairs of pants. Like
Yes.
one
Different
one
colors.
backpack might have elements of 5 different pairs of pants in
yes.
it.
And
That-
then you put a pocket inside.
There was always I always
backpack.
had a butt pocket. Basically, the back patch pocket would be the pocket that was on the inside of the backpack, and I also reused the zippers.
Yep, the fly
Right.
zippers were short little pockets in there. No,
And I've made out of denim. Honestly, you can make a lot of stuff out of denim.
Right.
You really can. And
that's probably one of the things.
it's
you
probably
should
one
go
of the
to.
safer things, and usually comes out pretty cute.
Go toward that denim versus t-shirts. I think. I
Right,
mean,
right.
obviously, you don't make a pencil skirt out of. Well, I mean, sure. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I've made
but,
you denim skirts. So yeah, but
That was the first class I ever taught. Do you remember? At the old store, I was 16 and I had remade a pair of pants
That's
into a
right.
denim skirt, and you let me teach
right.
how to repurpose a denim skirt.
No,
and
a pair of denim
a
pants
pair,
into a skirt.
excuse
right.
me, a pair of jeans into a denim skirt, and I'd done it out of some green corduroys, and I had a regular denim as well, and I was making short skirts
Right.
for myself as a 16-year-old, so when you have to add in that little triangle, it wasn't like very big. But I had a lady come to class who is still our customer, actually. Now she's in her 60s, but
You
she
didn't
was in
offend her too
no,
badly.
she was in her 50s, and she put fabric in there.
Right.
And then that was the class where you told me that you're not supposed to sit down while you're teaching.
That's right.
And I always remember that. So yeah, the denim, I think some of the denim products, I think you're right. They turn out cute.
Denim turns out
I mean,
cute.
they can turn out ugly too. I can think of a couple denim.
Sure.
projects. Yeah,
You
but-
can always make it ugly.
You can
that's
always
for
make
sure.
things ugly.
It's easy to make things ugly.
And I'm trying to think of something that I've repurposed.
I made your husband
Oh, yeah.
a apron out of a dress shirt,
And I wear that. I
and
love
you
that.
wear it all the time.
I
He
love
probably
that.
thinks it's stupid, but it was a Hawaiian shirt, and it was I did some clever work with it, and used both sides of the fabric, and also used a stripe to bias bind it, so it turned out pretty cute.
Yeah, the man's shirts tutorials that are out there. Be careful with those.
Yeah, be
too.
careful. Be
Be
careful.
careful.
It will look like a man's shirt that you did something with.
Yes, yeah, be like, oh, did you tie
Well,
your
another thing too is
shirt?
I really don't want a pillow made out of a man's shirt. I don't get that. Like a throw pillow on my couch that looks like it used to be a man's shirt that still has the placket on it.
Unless it's like, I mean,
don't
I'm
know.
sure there's a way to make it,
No,
really cute.
know,
But you took the pocket off of some stuff of Grandpa's and put it on other things.
Right.
And that was kind of cool. It was a little hidden and
Right.
neat. That was
Right.
cool.
the other thing is I let sleeve legs and shirt sleeves and sweater sleeves and everything can make
What
really
are
good
sleeve legs?
I'm sorry, is that what I said?
What are sleeve legs?
This is the things I wear when I put my arm through the sleeve.
Are those for dogs?
My arm through the
Sleeve
leg.
leg, sleeve,
Sleeve
sleeve
legs.
legs.
Well, we can talk about some for dogs too.
Yeah.
Make good wine holders.
Oh yeah.
You could
Oh, yeah,
make some
those are
cute
cute.
wine
Those are
holders.
cute.
Like you take a man's dress shirt, and use the cuff, and it really can be
I
sort
think
of
a lot
cute.
of successful repurposing can be done with sweaters.
Sweaters,
I
right?
like the sweaters into mittens.
Right.
Because I do knit.
Or a sock cap. It's okay.
Yeah, or a sock cap or something like that. Or even like I like the felted pin cushions. I
Right.
think those can be really pretty because knitting a pattern like color work or that Fair Isle, it can be really hard. So if you do find something cute and fun like that at a
Right.
thrift store, it's like you've automatically got it. And I found a sweater at a thrift store one time, and it had cables and like bobbles on it. And I just cut it out to make a pillow
Right.
top, and I didn't have to knit that.
Well, and we've
You
made
know?
dog clothes out of
Yes, dog clothes out of sweaters.
of sweaters, things
Sweaters,
like that.
I feel like have been now with the trend put into some more practical
Right.
uses. But the things that I
But they don't make
fantasize-
great skirts,
No,
everybody.
they're not a good pencil skirt unless you line it and you do this and you do that. You know, I
Right,
mean,
right. You can't just cut it off and put it on
you
your
have
waist.
to have some kind of, sewing knowledge about that, garment to make it. It's not just because you already have the T-shirt that it makes it all of a sudden easy to make, So, well, tell us about a successful or even better, an unsuccessful repurposing project that you've attempted or that a friend attempted. We'd love to hear about it in the comments at sewingoutloud.com. Thanks for listening.
So long.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.